Hi, and welcome to Chronically, formerly known as Concussion Talk Podcast. My name is Lauren Zayaks,
I'm Nick Mercer.
and we're teaming up to talk about all things chronic illness. We'll still be talking about chronic concussion, but we're going to follow a lot of other journeys along the way. So make sure to subscribe and check back in. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. This next part that we wanted to talk about was the coalitions. One of the big parts about the Crash Course initiative is the groups that you've been able to bring together. So, we've already talked about these incredible athletes, brain injury scientists, you've got your tech people, because otherwise, how could you even build out the platform anyway? Educational researchers, learned scientists. So, with a project this complex, take us kind of from how do we pitch a vision to getting these diverse experts to come together and not just hang out in their own silo. I don't feel comfortable with that because that's not my specialty, right? And how do we get them all to work together to move towards one primary goal?
It's a great question. With every group that we approached, whether they were neuroscientists, tech pioneers, Olympic athletes, etc., they all cared about brain health deeply. And so that was fantastic. The problem was that everyone was working in silos. So you had the scientists that had groundbreaking clinical data, and you had the tech teams that had fantastic tools, and the athletes that had the real world, lived experiences. And what we needed to do was to connect those dots into an accessible, scalable program for youth. But when these different groups saw that we were wanting to unite people to bring them together to protect young minds through the development of world-class, education, the silos just became non-existent. They were just all in. And whether it was the top scientists or the neurosurgeons or athletes, etc., they all volunteered their time, which was really something truly special. And yeah, it's just been an incredible, incredible experience.
That's one big piece that when I get the opportunity to lecture, and if there's ever extra minutes, I'll kind of give a little soapbox, but especially young clinicians, like you don't have to be good at everything. What you
Exactly.
have to do
And we're
is
not.
find people who have strengths in your weaknesses, right? And
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what our team is. So whenever someone asks for a medical expert, I'm like, what kind of a medical expert? We have that. We've got all these different pieces. I always think about it as like conducting an orchestra. You've got to have all the different people who play various instruments, and together we can make a really beautiful piece. The second question I think that you were asking about was about the partnerships and scaling. Is that right?
Yes. That would be great. I would love to know more about that.
Sure, I'm happy to chat with you. Um, it's an awesome question. We get asked that a lot in terms of bringing people together and scaling the content. And it comes down to our core philosophy, which is flexibility without friction. And so when you're aiming to scale, you can't expect a small community to have the same digital infrastructure as a major state school district. And you've got to just meet these organizations where they're at. And so we took a year, and our team did an in-depth technical analysis across our user base while we were developing the content to understand their pain points. And based on those insights, we engineered our curriculum to adapt to the different environments. So we actually built 22 distinct downloadable packages, which include all our audio files, our video files, images, content, and a how-to manual so that anyone, anywhere would be able to implement CrashCourse in their existing systems. So if you were a low-tech environment, we built non-interactive versions that run with zero internet connectivity. If you're in a high-tech environment, as we were talking about earlier, we offer the immersive VR experiences. And then for formal education systems that require tracking or certifications, we built quizzes and certification tools that plug into the existing backend workflows. The most important for us was to make sure that all of our content was free. So it's free under a Creative Commons license. And we just wanted to make sure that every child, parent, coach, league, etc., no matter where you were, had access to world-class brain safety education.
That actually answers one of the questions that I had because I understand that, I mean, you've been able to work with all these big organizations like USA Cheer, USA Baseball, USA Football, but when you look at statewide implementation or a school system implementing it, at least in our state, in Utah, you can't mandate something that has a cost associated with it.
Hmm.
So I was wondering how you were able to have statewide mandated education, but it's because you're able to offer it under this free,
Creative
so
Commons
common
license.
common price. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. For us, even for the HIV education, we learned very early on that even if something's $1, there's friction. And so we raise the money up front, and then as we were talking about, we've got all of the most expensive people, etc., giving their time for free. Dick Gould, who I was telling you about, the legendary coach, he would volunteer 55 hours a week, and I take $1 a year. So we pull together these incredible resources to make the costs as low as possible because obviously building in this kind of technology is extremely expensive. But we wanted the end user, whoever it was, to not have the challenge of trying to figure out how to pay for it. So yeah, that's been a big part of our model, and we've been very lucky that we've been able to implement it that way.
So I guess
And
that's
so
why I
for,
don't use.
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's why I didn't use student athletes as like I use obviously Bryce. Don't Bryce. What's his last name?
Yeah, Bryce Love and
Bryce
Nick
Love.
Lenny.
Bryce. Yeah, I should know his last name, but I remember his. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not from the States, so I don't really know the all of this stuff necessarily. Um, but yeah, but the way you use more, you only use like Bryce Love and other student athletes used because of Chris now, and I know now he can get paid, but before he could get paid, so we can use only still use you could use like breed neurologists and coaches who actually do get paid. So you could you even though they volunteered their time for that.
Everybody volunteered. Yeah,
Oh,
it was incredible. And even with the HIV education, we have celebrities from all over the world that are film actors and musicians, and they make millions of dollars, and everyone
yeah,
volunteered. And,
yeah,
I think there's something special when everyone knows that they're giving of their time and everyone has something unique that they can contribute. So to be
yeah.
able to contribute whatever that talent is to make our kids healthier feels like that there's nothing more important than that.
And just for the kids to know today, like, I mean, this is again such a huge cultural shift. If you're 15 right now, you have literally no concept of what we're talking about, right? But I mean, the fact that these people are all willing to donate their time means that we all collectively know that there was this huge problem going on. And so it's so beautiful when people are able to kind of come together, leave the ego at the door. And it's also even more incredible when the younger people have no idea how profound that actually is. It's just
Yes.
something that they've always lived with,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah.
any of us over 35 or 40 remember the old days.
I think that one of the best experiences for me is when it's rare that I get to see kids watch our content because we're behind the scenes building everything. But when we get to see them watch it and they're just engaged and locked in, and we're thinking to ourselves, you have no idea what had to happen on the back end. All the people we had to bring together, the production, this, that, everything we had to do to make that one moment possible. But it just makes it all worth it.
So a little call to action before we move on to the next point is that we have North Carolina,
It's a one question.
Arkansas, and Colorado have statewide, excuse me, Colorado's only coaches, right? So we've got Arkansas, North Carolina, a statewide implementation. And then we've got Colorado, at least we've got the coaches having access, but it is free. So let's go, remaining states. Like, let's try to get this implemented as best that we can because not everybody's going to be a part of USA baseball, cheer, or football. So we've got a lot of extra buckets that we can start to collect as well.
There's always buckets. We've been really lucky on some very big partnerships. So there's 25 national governing bodies, and you named a few of them that are on board using this education in different ways. The National Council of Youth Sports serves 60 million kids across the country. and they have, gotten it out through their system, have it on their website, etc. And they also work with organizations like the Boys and Girls Club and others. So like that, there have been several organizations, the Brain Injury Association of America, etc. So I feel like if everyone just does their part, and it takes year after year, that we can keep the kids safe together.
Do you find there's one, not say one organization, but one field, I guess, that's better at getting the word out, getting them better at getting the word out, so better than engaging the student, the athletes, the kids in to actually follow the program, follow the crash course thing. Do you find the sports leagues are better at, or people like kids tend to follow what sports leagues say or what their local sports leagues say, or they're like they're what their doctors or their parents or
I think
their
that
groups.
everyone gets it out in a different way, and everyone has different things that they're fantastic at. So in North
Mhm.
Carolina, the Crash Course is mandated. Every
Yeah.
single high school student who is playing sport has to take it, and that's how they've done
Okay.
it.
Oh,
In Arkansas, it was really neat because they had VR units in all of the schools there, their high
really?
schools and their middle schools. And so they were actually able to implement, the latest, greatest technology in the schools. And so I think that that's really exciting for those kids to be able to watch it with that kind of an experience. So all of the groups are doing different things to be able to help. The Brain Injury Association of America has been really incredible as a partner because, for instance, in the concussion story wall, when people go through those videos, it's awesome that they have access to all of these real lived experiences.
Yeah.
But at that point, if they have any questions like, who's a lawyer in my state that I can go to, or here's, what
Mm.
kind of a physical therapist do I need for X, Y, and Z, we actually have information, and because of our partnership with Brain Injury Association of America, where they can call or text a particular number and they will get that information for themselves specific to their state, and they'll get that information for free. And so much of it is each of us that work in different spaces finding ways to connect and work together to make the system more powerful for these young people.
Nice. So I guess I asked you first question I asked you is about your impetus. Did you have was there a defining moment for, I know you had the stories from parents and others who said who should look at concussions is so important, but did you have a certain aspect yourself? And how did you convince like the students and the athletes that this was important to join you in this
It's a
educational venture?
great question. So I am not from the world of sports. I knew
No.
nothing about sports. I
No.
also knew nothing about HIV. So
Yeah.
for me, it's been really helpful to not be from the areas that we end up
Yeah.
learning about, because there's no bias that you're coming in with.
Yeah.
You're actually
Yeah.
learning from
Yeah.
scratch.
Yeah.
And so that's been really, really fantastic. I could not believe how many people were talking about this being an issue. So whether it was parents or doctors or teachers, or I mean, I felt like every place I was going to, people were talking about this. And so that's what made me think, gosh, is this, what's happening behind the scenes? And as we started asking questions, it was something that was really, really on people's minds, and they were worried about it. Um, as for the athletes, they knew this was an issue and they were worried about it. I started my first class on this particular topic, like whether we should build or not on concussions, and it overnight the class filled up with athletes.
Hmm. Wow.
And so I taught many classes on this topic as we were building the content, but the very first class I had capped it at 25, and 23 of the 25 were football players. They
Really?
took up all the spots, and so I had two girls in my class, and yeah, it was amazing to build with them. And each of them were three times the size that I was. I remember getting the
Yeah.
classroom, with the room capacity, and they walked in, and I was thinking, I think I need a room that's three times bigger than
Yeah.
this, because they were so much bigger. But we really just all bonded over this topic, and for them, they wanted to be able to educate a younger version of themselves. And that was really special. What did they feel like they had or didn't have that they wanted to pay it forward? And so that was really cool. And then we brought in a lot of high school and middle school kids that then worked with them. So those kids wouldn't, like the younger kids would give me answers that they thought were the right answers. But when they talked to the college kids, they would tell them what they actually felt. And so we saw the near
Yeah.
peer work in action, you know. So I would have the sessions with the college students then would have the sessions with the younger
Oh,
students, and we were able to
stepwise.
glean information
Yeah.
that way. We all to this day, like that very, very first class was in 2017. And I just this last weekend went to the wedding of one of the players that was in that class. And so in Idaho. And so we've just all remained really close because it was just a special time building this content together and then seeing what happened with it afterwards. We all had to believe and then we all got to see. So it's been incredible. Again, we have the best team ever.
Yeah. No, yeah.
That is so funny that you mentioned that the younger athletes would tell the college age students totally different answers
Yeah,
because we would even, when we used to do mass baseline testing, you would catch the older kids sometimes coaching the younger kids on how to cheat or whatever it is, or
exactly.
you hear these different, you overhear these totally different messages in a positive or in a negative way. And so it's funny that it takes like an advanced technology model or a learning science model for us to recognize things that we just know that we see every day. But that's how science works, right? Is that we
Exactly.
have to prove that that's how people think and act.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and when the young people would also try to give the correct answer to the college students, the college students would call them on their BS and say,
Yeah.
we were just you. Come on, we know you're not
Yeah.
doing that. And then they would break down. And it was just this building of trust. And then together, once you had that trust, you could build content that would be trustworthy for the rest of the nation. And so it was really, really cool to see how everyone came together and brought their best foot forward. And we just built together.
Do you find much people like directly over there, like say like 14-year-olds or 15-year-olds telling their because I mean I know when I was a kid, when I was like, like you listen to your parents share and your teachers share, but like you'd listen and older and even like 20-year-olds like share, but like listen to people your age. Let's say, oh, don't go to this, don't this here, go hack that girl, or don't hack that, don't do this, don't that. You listen to them more. Do you find you get more getting more people who've taken your course, like 15-year-olds taking your course, teaching 15-year-olds who have not taken your course, teaching them accurate information, not just hyperbole or just something that they think would
Yeah,
sound
yeah.
cool.
I was lucky to hear some of the conversations in the room, when these
Yeah.
these kids would be talking to each other, and sometimes they would bring up misinformation, but then when the person had actually watched the content or heard it from a near peer or particularly saw the science, they were able to help correct some of those myths.
Oh, okay. That's
And
cool.
so, yeah, just arming them with the right information. And there
Yeah.
is something that is special about the near peer where they believe them, they're
Yeah.
excited to learn from them and they find them trustworthy. And so I think having this through a technology, the education through technology has been so pivotal because it multiplies and it's free. And so you can show it to as many people as you want. You can watch it by yourself if you want. You can watch it multiple times or you can watch certain parts that you didn't know and there's no embarrassment around that. So I think having the technology component has been critical to making sure that it's out there everywhere.
Is there a recommended repeat watch rate, with younger athletes? They have to be reintroduced to something or just not retaining the information from seventh grade to 12th grade or whatever it is. Is there any science behind how often somebody should watch this, or is it a one and done?
Yeah, it's a great question. That always comes down to whatever organization is implementing it. And so in North Carolina, they have to watch it before every season. But then there's other places, it's a lot. And then there's other places with like coaching education where they need to take it once a year, So USA football's regulations are very different than some other organizations' regulation. And so at that level, we try to not be prescriptive. Like we've created the content, and then at that point, we've handed it off and we allow them to do what they think is best.
Has anyone done any implementation studies where you've sort of looked at what is an optimal? I know that you don't want to direct it because you just really want it to funnel out and as many people watch as possible. But is there any science to direct how often like a coach should watch it?
Yeah, so we've run quite a few peer-reviewed studies, and we've got a whole research team that looks at this. We haven't looked at that particular question, but it would be a really interesting one to explore.
Yeah. Well, okay, I know we've taken a lot of your time and we so appreciate it because you're very busy. But for those parents, coaches,
And
athletes,
tired.
anybody, weekend warriors, whoever it is, that want to bring their technology to their own local leagues, even if it's your beer league, right? You still can learn about concussion. Where should they go to get started? What does that process look like?
Yeah, thanks for asking. It's really easy. So whether you're a parent, a coach, an athlete, athletic director, etc., anyone, you just go to crashcourse.teachaids.org and you can access all of our products for free. You can, on the website, you can stream or download the interactive programs. And if you're a sports organization or a school district looking to implement this at scale, you can also download any of the 22 downloadable packages that we have. Again, like our goal was to make this universally accessible because we just believe that every person, regardless of your background and your zip code, deserves world-class education. So I'm so appreciative that you are showcasing this on your show, and I'm really hoping that more people will hear about it, and it'll be a multiplier effect with all of us trying together.
We'll definitely put all of the links in the show notes
Thank
as
you.
well. So for
Thank you.
for a study wall, for a story wall, for a crash course VR, and the YouTube channel as well, right?
Thank you. Yeah, if they just go to crashcourse.teachaids.org, they'll be directed to whatever
Oh,
products that
or,
resonate with them.
we'll put all three sub ones in there.
Thank you.
And then, Dr. Sokar, I don't think you want to be found, but do you want to plug any Instagram handles or anything else?
I think that if they just on the TeachAids website, and TeachAids has their own, Instagram, etc. It's been interesting. A lot of our students are like, we need to get on this. We need to have more presence on Instagram, and so they installed it on my phone, and I'm terrified of looking at it. I'm going to push the wrong thing. So I think the best is to go to the TeachAids website, and we've got our different handles on there. The kids have made sure we have our handles on there, so you'll
I was like,
find
that's a pretty standard question, but I got a feeling I know the answer to this one. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to all of our listeners. I know you have so many things you could be doing with your time, so we really appreciate you spending it with us. I know that they have a huge reach to so many millions and millions of children, but people are always being born and they're aging up into this process. So don't forget that just because of the volume of people they have reached, that number is always turning over. So we want to keep this momentum going. Thank you so much, Dr. Sokar, for being here with us and all of the work that you've done to improve concussion education and awareness for all of these young people. As a healthcare provider in this field, as a brain injury survivor, this work is just fundamental. It's so important. So please keep going.
Thank you. We have an awesome team, and our team now includes you. So thank you so much. Awesome.
Thanks.
Take
Thanks.
care. Bye.
Bye.